Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. You can also find a way to hold your horses and not take it to the stupid and get into very difficult back-to-back fights. Don't be Dereveyanchenko, people. Quit getting mad at Gervonta Davis. I want to see him fight the best too, but I don't want him to be a Dereveyanchenko. I don't want any of these fighters to be a Dereveyanchenko. Do you understand why? This man's career has been ruined by fighting extremely difficult back fights. Man been fighting killers, man. Killers. Got robbed along the way a couple times. But if you look at him now, in every fight that he had, especially even in a win, but with his losses, he had a pound of flesh taken out of his ass. Check this out. This is the great Dereveyanchenko. And to think this man started boxing late in life. 15 wins. Of those 15 wins, 10 were by KO. He had 6 losses. Stood 5'9", 67-inch reach, had short arms, and was out here fighting guys, man, like Munguia, Triple G, fighting monsters at 5'9", with a 67-inch reach. Now, I'm going to tell you what went wrong for the Ukrainians' finest by way of Brooklyn, New York. This is how you ruin a career. Now, let's just start from his very first couple fights, all right? All right? He burst onto the scene. Now, remember, he's 5'9". You see the weights, 164. A guy named Cromwell Gordon, I just say Hammond, Raul Munoz, Vladimir Blase, Alan Camper, Elvin Ayala. Okay, so from 2014 to 2015, okay, he was fighting and winning. So 2014 in July is when he turned pro. And 4 years later, okay, 4 years later, he's already fighting Daniel Jacobs. Now, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in his 13th fight, in his 13th pro fight, he fought Daniel Jacobs, who had 34 fights and 2 losses. Now, when he fought Daniel Jacobs, it's because they were out of the same camp. And Dereveyanchenko, of course, he was one of those Madramovs, one of those Bohachuks. He's one of those fighters that don't have many losses. Didn't have many fights, but he was special. What's his name? Lomachenko, the Andy Cruz type fighter, right? But he goes in there with Daniel Jacobs, and he loses by split decision. It was competitive, but they both took a lot out of each other, but Daniel Jacobs took a lot out of Dereveyanchenko. Then after Daniel Jacobs, he fights Jack Kolke, and he's able to go unanimous decision over 12 rounds, but still, he went a whole 12 rounds. That shit takes a lot out of you. Then he fights Gennady Golovkin. He lost unanimous decision over 12 rounds. I felt like he won that fight, but still, he's in there fighting a killer like Golovkin, getting hit and getting hurt. He did hurt Golovkin with a body shot. But again, he is fighting Golovkin and taking damage over 12 rounds. Then he fought Jamal Charlo. Took some damage over 12 rounds again, lost a unanimous decision. Do you guys understand what I'm telling you? He fought killer after killer after killer after killer, and the shit's going 12 rounds. He doesn't get hit with one shot, boom, knocked out cold. No, he's in there getting beat on round after round after round, after difficult fight after difficult fight after difficult fight. So he fights Triple G. He fights Jamal Charlo. Then after that, he fights Carlos Adames, where he loses a majority decision over 10 rounds. Again, the fight goes 10 rounds. You know what kind of wear and tear that puts on the body. So after he fights Adames, who's an extremely hard hitter, he fights Joshua Conley. It goes 10 rounds, but he wins the decision. Then he fights Jaime Munguia. This fight was vicious. He loses a unanimous decision. It goes the full 12 rounds. He was getting hurt in that fight, but he was hurting Munguia too. But again, do you see what's happening here? He's fighting the entire duration of these fights against killers, getting beat on. Then he fights Vaughn Alexander. He won a unanimous decision, but again, 10 full rounds. Then he gets in there with him, Billy, and he couldn't sustain himself. He got clipped, okay? Because he had a pound of flesh. He had a pound of flesh taken out of him. A pound of flesh taken out of him. Somebody just texted me. He had a pound of flesh taken out of him in those fights, man. So he gave y'all what you want. See the best fighting the best. Very competitive matchups. He got in there being a guy who was undersized, and he gave these fighters hell, but he just wasn't able to just nick it. You understand? He got in there, he was competitive, but he got beat on. Let's just do this, right? I'm gonna show you. Let's just do this, right? Because y'all want Gervonta Davis to go out here and fight back-to-back crazy fights like this. That's why it don't make sense. Fight a hard fight, give us a couple filler fights, and take another hard fight. Don't go hard fight after hard fight after hard fight. Dereveyanchenko, let's just go and start with Daniel Jacobs. That was 12 rounds, right? So you got 12, another 12, 24, 36, 48, 58, 68, 80, 90, 100. This man had 100 professional rounds against killers. And he's so tough that instead of him taking a knee or quitting, he stayed in there and took a beating. Let me tell you something. I talk about Wilder. Who's someone else who's really just in there getting the shit beat out of him? From pillar to post and won't quit. Wilder is the one who comes to mind. But there's someone else, man, who I was like, yo, they still going, his career, he's not, after he retires, he's going to be messed up. Oh, Derek Chisora. But because of the type of damage they've taken. But when you look at Dereveyanchenko, if we're going to be worried about Wilder 10 years from now because of what happened with him against Fury, Parker, Zhang, we're going to be worried about Derek Chisora because of what happened to him in every goddamn fight, then we need to be worried about Dereveyanchenko because this man had 100 professional rounds of just getting beat, hit in the head, hit all over. I think 10 years after he retires, I think he's going to show some signs of some kind of damage. It's just not normal to get beat like that and to end up being able to live a normal life. Now, you talk about Gervonta Davis. People, you don't want Gervonta, you don't want Devin. I don't want any fighter to go through what this man went through. Like Dereveyanchenko, when he fought Billy, he had whatever with his arm, but man, he just didn't have it. You could see that he was a shell of himself. He had all the fight beaten out of him. You know what I'm saying? And that's not from alcohol abuse or not living a disciplined lifestyle. It's just he was in difficult fight after difficult fight after difficult fight. Just like Fernando Vargas. Difficult fight after difficult fight. He won some, he shouldn't have won. But you're talking about difficult fight after difficult fight after difficult fight. And the same thing we're here with Dereveyanchenko. That being said, man, I don't think any fighter should be him. As far as his heart, his balls, his will to win, representing his country, yeah. But to take difficult after difficult fight, I don't think so. I understand he was the B-side. The money's good. He wanted the opportunities. You miss 100% of shots you don't take. I get it. But, man, he's just talking about having your career just cut short, man. And that's what I think happened with him. And remember, when you look at his record, I mean, the guy has, 15, he has 21 fights. 21 fights. And he lost 6. And those 6 he lost. Those were tough. But anyway, 10-year career, I think it's over. If he keeps fighting, I'm going to feel bad for him. I just don't think he has it left. If he fights, he needs to fight like a C-level fighter, maybe a D-level fighter. But don't be a gatekeeper and let these killers come up here and destroy you. I just think he needs to be careful what he's doing. Anyway, Gervonta Davis may have the right approach to things. Be careful who he's picking. Make sure he has the upper hand. Go in there, take the least amount of damage, make your money, retire with all your faculties like Mayweather would say. Dereveyanchenko, yeah, he deserves to be applauded. He deserves to be commended. But when he can't talk, he can't write, and he's shaking and all that shit, ain't nobody going to care. All they're going to say is he was a great champion. That's all they're going to say. But ain't nobody going to be there to help him, help his family, help his kids, nothing. Anyway, y'all keep cool. And again, it's boxing. I get it. And Dereveyanchenko, he's a true warrior. But I don't think we should be trying to push fighters to be like this, because this man had a goddamn pound of flesh beaten out of him in the breeze.